I have learned 5 languages. Here's how you can learn one too. The languages I speak are English, French, Arabic, Spanish, and Deutsch or German. So throughout the process, I've learned and made a lot of mistakes, and all the time I see my friends are doing a lot of mistakes that I just hate and get angry at because they just shouldn't do them, but they don't know any better. So I just decided that I gotta make this video to actually teach it for you. The way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna give you the theory, all the theory that you actually need. I'm gonna give you the practice, all the tricks and tips and stuff like that. It's almost like the dirty stuff, the naughty stuff. And also I'm gonna give you my personal experience of first-hand experience. Let's get started. The first thing, which I think is the most important, is why you learn a language. And it's not one of those like, you gotta know a why of your purpose. No, it's not that. But just why. Some people learn language because they're bored. Some people want to learn language because they want to travel. Some people want to learn language for studies. Some people want to learn for work. Some people want to learn for visa application or work application abroad. All of these require different methods of learning. Luckily, I'm gonna give you all of them, okay? So, the first one is if you're bored, it really doesn't matter how you learn it. If you have, which this is, I think, okay, let me make, please understand this. Let me make this clear. Learning academically and learning to learn a language are very different. Like the difference between heavens and earth. Me learning French, me learning English, me learning Spanish, and me learning Deutsch is different. Please understand this. It's different. If you want to learn a language because you want it or love it, or you want to have the ability to speak it, to communicate, you don't need to go through grammars and formal education. But if you want to go for job application, for visa application, for formal education, for university or college, you need to go academically because you will be tested academically. Let's say you're traveling to Spain. If you want to travel to Spain, it's enough to just go and do Duolingo every day for, say, 120 days, and you'll probably be good at speaking Spanish. Like you can speak a little bit of Spanish at that point. You can understand the basics, you know the sentences. Duolingo will help you to understand the most daily basic sentences that you use, the most common ones. You won't not understand the grammar of Spanish, but you will be able to communicate whatever you want. I want to go to a coffee, yo quiero una café, or yo quiero café, yo quiero un café. It doesn't really matter if you do it wrong. You understand that? So the most important thing is just communication. You can just do it with Duolingo. I'll say the hardest is with grammar, is you do it the right way, which I recommend if you really want to learn language, learn it this way. And for me, my 5th language I'm learning now, I'm doing it this way. So what is this way? This way is the most boring way possible, the most hard way possible, but the most fucking good way possible. It is following the educational academic system. A1, A2, B1, B2. A1 level has a lot of lessons. You gotta go through them. A2, B1, and B2. If you wanna go to C1 and C2, good luck. But for that, I really don't think there's a lot of lessons they learn. It's really reading, a lot of reading and practicing and get it in, really in the real life, you know. Really, I'd say reading actually. Reading and talking can help you to get to C1, C2. But for learning a language from scratch, the best way is to go to A1, A2, blah, blah, blah. The reason why, because you build a foundation. As an example, for my 5 languages, one of them, which is my 4th language, I learned in the untraditional way, which is the Duolingo way. My Arabic, it is my mother language, but I also studied Arabic in basically all my educational system for 12 years. I studied French for all the educational system for even longer, for 16 years. English, I also studied it in college. I studied it for a month in college, but really in my all educational careers, I studied it for 4 years, right? And German, I'm studying it now, also very formally. Spanish, the only one that I haven't studied formally at all. Not a formal 1 hour. Not a YouTube grammar video. Nothing. Now, when I speak Spanish, I look at how bad I am. I speak to my sister who lives in Spain, and she's like, "You're so bad at Spanish. Like, it's crazy." Even though I spent like a year learning Spanish. Why? It's because I haven't laid down the foundation. The foundation couldn't be taken away from you. So the way I learned Spanish, almost like a scattergun. It's like I get this and this and this and this and this. If you really want to learn a language the right way, you gotta have it's not a shotgun. Even shotgun is a scattergun. You gotta have a sniper. One shot, not really one shot, but a clear path, or a bazooka or whatever. Some laser beam, right? Thick, good laser beam. Why? Because that's what matters, bruv. You want to lay down the foundation. A1, you gotta understand the basics, the numbers, how you say the numbers, how to read the letter. I mean, it's crazy how after a year of Spanish, I learned the alphabets. After a fucking year, I learned the alphabets. That's how untraditional I was. And you know what's the funny thing? I thought I was so good at learning languages. I was a dumbass. No, do it academically. And this wasn't even my advice. My best friend has actually advised me with that. And he's actually has a visa agency where he takes people from Morocco to study in Spain. And he said, brother, and I obviously been with a lot of students and throughout the entire process, and his friends also, a lot of them has actually went through the process to live, and also he himself did that. And he said, to learn language, really, learn it academically. Don't go fancy shit. Just learn the basics academically. Follow a course. Just go through it. I think it's true. So, here's why. Once you understand the A1 level, you are able to you can never unlearn it. Unlike the Duolingo sentences that you can forget. The A1 level will teach you the basics of verbs and sentence structure in that language. Will teach you the feminine and masculine. I mean, in Deutsch, we have neutral, right? So you have all these differences. You understand the basics of conjugation, right? The past, present, and future, time tenses. So you understand a little bit of that. I mean, obviously, you don't go in depth in tenses in A1 usually, but you understand at least that, oh, here's the tenses that we have in this specific language, because every language is different. Some languages just have present, future, and past. Some have 12, like French. Some have others. It just like complicates it a little bit. Okay? So it depends on the language that you want to speak or you learn. So those basics are really the basics of understanding and speaking. And the reason why it's A1, because you don't understand A2 except if you understand A1. Let alone B1, B2. So it's almost accumulative. It's compound interest. And just by understanding A1, your level is so good, you can make yourself, you can go around. So this guy who learns on Duolingo, it takes a year. You can fuck him. I mean, right now my Deutsch is better than Spanish. Way better. Even though they're pretty much the same level, I am A2 here, A2 here. I mean, I haven't still finished the A2 in Deutsch, but also I'm pretty sure I haven't finished A2 in Spanish as well. So hypothetically you can say whatever, but my Deutsch is way better. I can understand fucking YouTube videos and Instagram videos in Deutsch. I don't enjoy watching them in Spanish. Which gets us to point number 2. You gotta love the language. Just love it, man. And here's a story of my life. So throughout all my life, I said, French is my academic language. I hated it. 12 years of my life, I hated it. Actually, even more, 16 years. I hated it. So, no, 14 years I hated it, and 4 years didn't hate it. So I studied it for 18 years. And the reason behind it is because it wasn't my idea. When I was young, I liked my sister when I was young, and she liked me and whatever. And almost I was inspired by her. And she had such a good English, and I have a good English, and I loved English and learned English so fast because I loved it. On the other hand, brother, I wasn't learning. We haven't started learning English until 9th grade. I started learning French in elementary school, so before even 1st grade. Not elementary school, like preschool, whatever it's called. Elementary school, right? Or kindergarten, whatever. Got the point, okay? I was 40 years old. Or 4 or 5 years old. So when I was young, I learned English so fast, but fucking bad at French. Why? It's not because I was always going to school, obviously, and I was learning French, but I just didn't give a fuck. It's because I hated it. I didn't like it. And it wasn't even my idea. It was my sister's idea. She didn't like it, so I didn't like it. Just like that. Until I finished high school and got into university, and I said, well, fuck, I just have to learn it. I have no choice. Because in Morocco, we have all universities in French. So I said, well, I have to learn it. So I studied it a little bit to pass my selection exam. And when I started the university, I almost convinced or walked myself into liking the language. So I liked it. And I studied for 120 days in Duolingo. That was just complimentary. I was studying in French and I was translating every word. Obviously, it was nursing university. So we're talking anatomy, it's hard. So my very first year in university, it was another university that I didn't actually finish. So that was another story. So I'm talking like real first year in university. And then I was actually learning French. Now I'm fucking good at French. You know what? Just last week or 2 weeks ago, I was passing my exam and I was revising with my friends. And then we were learning these points, whatever. And I was actually just remember them in Arabic, in Moroccan. I said, oh, this is easy. We do this. We were talking. And I said, like, we gotta fucking memorize it by heart. And the way he said it, he said, I'm so jealous. Jealous. He emphasized jealous a lot. He said, I'm jealous of you because you have such a good French. You don't really need to memorize the words, just need to understand it so you can actually explain and whatever in the exam, just talk. And it's true. I wrote fucking 8 papers in one exam, and 8 pages in one exam, and 4 pages in the other exam. Just from whatever. I didn't fucking memorize any of that, right? Even the definitions, I just know them, right? Because I know the language. So he said, I was jealous of you. So that's how good I got at French. And obviously all of them, they studied French their entire life and they also have their academic career in French and blah, blah, blah. But the most important thing is because I liked it. Now I like French, right? So the more you like a language, the easier it is to just happen to learn it. So with Deutsch, German now, I genuinely do like Deutsch because I just love the culture of Deutschland and Germany and German, I just love it. And somehow I think my childhood, a lot of the content that I was consuming as a childhood, movies and whatever that I was learning from when I was young, almost like a philosophy, it was just like very good that I really remember, like intrinsically I remember them. They were Deutsch. And I thought they were American until I started learning Deutsch and getting exposed to the German culture, and I just love it, right? But part of it is to love it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie here and say at first I fucking loved Deutsch. At first, I started with the series called Dark, And I also recommend this, but this is going to be a later point. I started this series with Dark, and when I heard Deutsch, it was the first time I'm learning Deutsch. The first time I heard Deutsch in my life, I said, well, this sounds like fucking Russian, Turkish, and Spanish, all some sort of mixed together. Because I never heard of it in my life, so I didn't have the distinction, the subconscious mind or unconscious distinction of a language, right? And obviously, I should have heard it all my life, but never just had this, oh, that's Deutsch, right? And one of the reasons why I say that, because now in social media, I just go all the time, and I realize all the fucking people are fucking speaking Deutsch, right? And before, maybe I was exposed to the same content, but I never understood it. I was like, oh, it's Russian or whatever. So that is that. So the most important thing is to follow a system, academic, most boring fucking system, and to like a language, so it's easier for you to consume it and to live by it and whatever. Third point is to sort of have some sort of cheatings. You know what they say, if you don't cheat, you don't try. I think there is a part of it with languages as well. So with language, just to understand, to get to a B2 level, which is a pretty good level, you need to learn a language for about 600 to 700 hours. At least that's for Deutsch, German. So it's 100 in A1, 200 in A2, 200 in B2 or 300 in B2, B1, and about 300, 400 in B2. That's about like the distribution of the hours. And one of the ways that I use personally for A1, at least for Deutsch, is to maximize the hours. You can eat and watch a fucking Deutsch series. I mean, at least if you like watching movies or series, you might as well just watch Deutsch series or whatever language that you're learning. And even if it's not enjoyable at first, even if it's the movie, it's not fucking good. I mean, just use ChatGPT and obviously watch the best ones. Don't watch some boring bullshit ones. But you just find yourself doing whatever you are doing, and now you're getting exposed to language. Your ears are getting used to the language. And sometimes you just find yourself repeating. You're like, was? Was ist das? Super, natürlich. Ich kenne nicht, das weiß nicht. Right? You just repeat naturally. I mean, I remember even when I was young, very young, at the very early stages of learning English, I remember I was doing NBC3, which is whatever, or Cartoon Network. And there were weekly times, I'm pretty sure it was Thursday or Tuesday, it was Tuesday, they were making one English show. It was in English and you have subtitles in Arabic. And I didn't really understand most of it, but some few words just stuck out to me because they were just so bold and just out there and attention grabbing that I had to remember. And the two words I so much remember, because I had this story with them, is now, no, and what, and impossible. That's impossible. I remember we were in a funeral or a wedding, one of them. I was very young. I was with the girls of my family, and one of them really spoke English, and two of them were fucking good. They were like in a prestigious family, very spoke English, French. They were like rich family. And I remember she was talking, I said, what? And then she was talking, I said, that's impossible. Those are the only words I know. I knew at the time. And I also knew no and yes. And the way I learned them at the time, just also with the accent. Impossible. That's impossible. No. What? But that just helped me understand things and learn things, remember things, especially at first. And now I find myself going through almost the same stages with Deutsch as well, with German. So you have to go through those stages. It's almost such an enjoyable phase where you're just like repeating a few words and like, oh, natürlich. Or for me, at the time, it was what? And impossible. And the reason why I remember it, because actually my cousin actually made fun of me. And she remembered it for a very long time. But these stories are actually what help you learn a fucking language. So, first, follow academically if you want to fucking actually learn a fucking language and have it for the rest of your life. 2, like the language. 3, do whatever you like doing and do it in that language. And 4, which is a bonus point, is don't fight, thinking in that language. Or think in that language. So whatever saying or statement you wanna go with. Teach yourself or get used to thinking in that language. One of the biggest breakthroughs, the early breakthroughs in my English was thinking in that language. Later on, obviously you get into speaking and talking and reading in that language. But earlier on, it's more of a thinking in that language. And one of the ways you do it, okay, I'm gonna make it separately, so let's not confuse the points. I'm gonna add 2 bonus points, okay? So let's not confuse you. So you just exercise, especially simple ideas that you can say. So as an example for Deutsch, instead of saying, I usually think in English, although my Arabic is my first language, and my French is my academic language, I usually think in English. It's my baseline. Even my notes, my whiteboard, it's all in English. So my brain's default now is English. When I was young, very young, it was Arabic, English, academically it's French, and now it's English. But instead of saying, oh, that is good, in my mind, I say, das ist super, das ist super. Das ist super, auch ich kenne nicht, ich weiß nicht. Instead of saying, I don't know, say, ich weiß nicht, oder ich kenne nicht. Instead of saying, oh, I said, oder. And instead of saying hello, I can say hello. And I'm just saying, this is all thinking to myself, right? I can just see a good thing. And instead of saying, oh, this is cool, that looks cool, I can just say, das ist cool, or das ist sehr schön. Right? And thinking in that language. And now which gets me to the bonus point number 2, which I think, which even I did a mistake in learning French, especially at the early stages of in college. I remember in college, university, I had especially this lecture that he wanted us to talk in French a lot. It was communication. So he wanted us to answer his questions. I remember every time I wanted to participate in the class, I think of a sentence in Arabic. Then I translated to English. Then I translated to French. Took me like 10 seconds to come up with one word. Very slow process. Later on, I started thinking in French, thinking in English, thinking in Arabic, thinking in Deutsch, thinking in Spanish. For Deutsch as well, I'm doing the same. Now, how you do that? Don't fucking learn the translation. Don't learn the translation. I'm learning Deutsch. I never look, if I give you my notebook from Deutsch notebook that I take lessons in, I don't have a single fucking English word. In the early stages, the early few days of A1 levels, obviously, you need to understand what 1 is and 2 is. But just once you go a little bit, brothers, fuck that off. Even if you can do that without any translation, go on then. Do that. For me now, I don't. Unless if it's a very important word that when I'm thinking, bonus point number 1, when I'm thinking with it, as an example, always when I talk to Deutsch people in Discord as an example, in a language learning group, I want to say that is hard or that is not hard. And I just didn't know what hard is. Later on, while learning, I knew it's schwer. So at the bottom of the paper, I write schwer, hard. So that I know that, because before I wanted to know that word, but I didn't know it. So I just write it down. But I never translate, nothing. And what this gives me is a lot of the time I don't understand a few words, so I force myself to understand them from the context. And that's what our brain should do. When we are young, nobody's translating anything. We don't know any language, right? We just know and boo boo, woo woo, crying. like babies, because we were babies. So you just learn a language. If you don't know a word, you just understand it from the context. So now you just want to recreate that. So the words are detached from other languages. They're only attached to the meaning, which helps you learn the language faster. Now if I hear shun, I just know shun. It's good, it's beautiful. I don't think of shun as beautiful and la beauté or c'est merveilleux in French or in Arabic. I don't translate it in my mind. I just think of it. It just happens. Even when I'm making the words or sentences, I don't think of it in Arabic, English, French, and Deutsch. Or they're English, Arabic, French, Spanish, then Deutsch. It's just Deutsch. Come out. Like that. Why? Because I never translate. And I see a lot of people learning Deutsch. They just go on Google Translation every moment. ChatGPT every moment. No, don't do that. That's the whole point of learning a language. Is to not do Google Translation. It's not do ChatGPT. Other than that, don't learn the goddamn fucking language in the first place. That will help you a lot. Really a lot. Please, please. These are 3 rules, 2 bonus points. That's it. You have to understand this so much that it has to become like a second nature to you. This is all what you need to learn a language. All what you need. Any language in the world. Trust me, because I did it and I forced people to do it and I've seen people do it. I learned 5 languages with it. It's easy. Just practice, just do this, just get it done. Watch this video again and again. If it takes you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, do it. Please do it. Please understand this. This is very important to understand to learn any language. This has to become like a second nature to you, like an unconscious mind, without even thinking about it. It just happens. You're like, oh yeah, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. So please, subscribe, because maybe I might make another video talking about how to learn language. Maybe. I might make another videos that are very important that you really don't want to miss. So subscribe.